strategize together. Let's hear it from an expert. Join the conversation, it's informative and free. You and me, let's talk some strategy. Now here's your host, Dorien Morin-van.
Hello everybody, my name is Dorien Morin-van, and we are back with another episode of Strategy Talks. Today we're going to talk to somebody, her name is Lisa. We're going to talk about outdoors, hiking, and really how to promote a passion project. So we'll be talking about Vermont, Boston, hiking, and marketing with a zero budget. But before we do, I want to say a welcome to all of you who are here live with us. Those of you who watch this on the replay, put hashtag replay in the comments, and a special shout out to those of you who listen to Strategy Talks as a podcast. Before I introduce you to my guest today, I'm going to do a quick shout out to our sponsor, as always, Social Insider. They are the intuitive dashboard for social media analytics, reporting, and competitors analysis for brands and agencies. If you need data, you need Social Insider. So now let me introduce you to today's guest, Lisa Kalner Williams. How are you today, Lisa?
Oh, I'm doing great. So happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited that you are here. So let me introduce you to Lisa. And before I do, I just want to tell you, Lisa and I got in contact in 2015, I believe. And so it's been a long time. I've been following her journey, and I invited her to come on the podcast because I love what she is doing, and I want you all to know more about her passion project. So Lisa Kalner Williams is the founder of DEIB Outdoors and the host of the DEIB Outdoors Champion Chat podcast. In 2022, she left a toxic work environment and found emotional healing on local hiking trails. Inspired to speak of the health benefits of the outdoors in an inclusive way, Lisa created DEIB Outdoors. Through blog posts, podcasts, and an upcoming collaborative event calendar, she uses her platform to shine light on others who bring diversity and belonging to outdoor recreation. So, wow, I love that. And I didn't know when we met 8 years ago that we would have this in common so many years later, because I wasn't much of a hiker when I lived in South Carolina, but moving to New England certainly polished up my hiking boots and started hiking. I live near Killington, which is over 4,000 feet. And we were just talking in the green room. I usually hike it at least once a year. So let's talk about how you got started and why you started this project.
Yeah, sure. Touching on a little bit of the intro, I was in an in-house position in marketing. Just about everything of the position was super toxic in a way that I had never experienced before in my many years as a professional. And I made the decision to just leave the job without a backup. And also first time ever doing something like that before. And I needed to figure out, how to keep my mental, or to kind of resume my mental health and my general well-being. A few months prior to me leaving, I traveled to Ithaca. It was the summertime, and we did a kind of upstate New York trip, and we went there. We did a lot of hiking. There's a tagline for Ithaca called "Ithaca is Gorges," because there are a lot of gorges there, / waterfalls, and just the sounds and the smells and everything kind of overtook me. And I knew I wanted to continue that when I got home. So I was doing bit by bit. And then when I quit, I really accelerated going outside. I ended up being sponsored by Osprey Outdoor Research, and another brand I'm trying to remember. There goes my sponsorship. For over 50 outdoors. They're looking for people to represent older people outdoors. So I was out doing all sorts of things for those folks. And the other one is Oboe's Footwear. Sorry, Oboe's spaced out for a moment. But anyway, so I was out there on local hiking trails. You mentioned local hiking trails earlier. Where I am is about 10 miles north of Boston. And within a 10, 15-minute drive, I have great hiking trails at my disposal. And at first I was like, gosh, I'm so lucky, be it a religious power, fate, whatever. Like, this is amazing. It's free. And it's not just a great mind cleaner, but you can accelerate your heart and you can have all sorts. It's a mental and physical workout as much or as little as you'd like. And so I just was kind of relishing in that for a while. Then I realized, wow, there's not a lot of people who have access to hiking trails like within a 10 or 15-minute ride in a car. And then I was thinking further, like, wow, and there's probably even like fewer that are within 10 to 15-minute drive but don't have a car. Like, how do we make things more balanced for people? And definitely I saw that there were a lot of people that looked like me on the outside. We don't know what's going on in the inside, but I was certainly wanting to see more diversity. And I was just like, gosh, is there somebody doing something out there? Is there an organization that's fostering more diversity and belonging in outdoor recreation? So I just was like, well, I have free time to quit the job. Why don't I investigate?
And what did you find? Did you find anybody else talking about this?
Yeah. So there are groups all over dealing with all sorts of whether it be women, a certain ethnic group, disabilities. I really wanted to expand what it meant to have diverse folks outside. And so then I thought, I guess my light bulb went off. Like, I don't think I need to reinvent the wheel by having an organization that does this. There's tons of folks doing great things, and even bigger organizations that if you know the outdoors, you would know, like the National Audubon Society or National Parks Conservancy. They all have a wing now that are trying to do this, but there are also a lot of upstarts doing it. And if I could have one place to kind of shine light on, so-and-so in the Pacific Northwest is doing this, and another person in your old state of South Carolina is doing something else, like, how can we get that all together? Because people move, people have cousins somewhere else that might be looking for a group with folks like them. So that was kind of the seed for DEIB Outdoors, and it took off from there.
So what you do is you promote other organizations who work to be inclusive.
Yes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So depending on where you live, what state, what region, they can connect with DEIB Outdoors, and you highlight them, you share the information, and you highlight the beautiful things that everybody's doing.
Yes, exactly. And eventually I will, one long-term goal is to have a kind of clearinghouse calendar that would be separated by region or the type of group you'd like to be in, and that you could find it. I've done some very DIY versions of it. For example, I participated in my town's Pride Fest, and I had a big poster board of queer groups, hiking groups across the US. And it was really cool. Someone came up to me and said, "Oh, I'm moving to Dallas. Do you know of any groups?" And I was like, "Look, over here." And she jotted it down. And I was like, okay, I told her, I'm like, "You're the reason I started this thing." So it was great to see in person, and I'd like to do that at scale. That's the idea.
That's wonderful. So putting on our marketing hat.
Yes.
This started out as a passion project. What are some, and I'm going to use this word lightly and you might use it different than I do, but what are some grassroots marketing techniques or things that you could share with us and our audience that could be used to promote something like this? Because all of us have a passion project. I mean, you ask me about running and I just start, like I love running more than I do hiking. And so I can talk about that. I love vegan food. You ask me about that, I would do a passion project in a minute. But money is always a consideration. So let's talk about the marketing piece to that passion project. What do you need to have in place? How do you get started? How do you find collaborators? All of that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So whenever anyone starts a business, whether they have a marketing background like we do or not, they're like, we need a logo and a business card. Somehow that makes you official. Didn't need the business card. I don't think I'll ever need one again. But having a logo helps. And I think for me, I knew I was going to be on interviews and I was going to be pounding the pavement a little bit to spread the word. So having a logo for the background and then this t-shirt, I feel like this one t-shirt that I have was the best investment I've made yet in the company.
We can't see it. Can you get up
a
little bit
so it's
higher?
not that good of an investment.
Yes.
But it has the logo.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you. Yeah. So I made the logo on Canva.
Yeah.
So that was in a way that I wouldn't have to pay for a designer. And then I got this shirt for $20 on Sticker Mule. And when I got this specifically at first for Pride, because I just didn't want to wear a regular shirt. And I was probably the least known entity in among the tables. So I wanted to seem more official. So with this and then the logo, which I created magnets, it was like, oh, this must be something. And most people don't know you could just buy one shirt. They're like, whoa, she must be well funded. Yeah. I'm sure there are, many people out there with these DEIB shirts, so outdoor shirts. So for me, just to start promoting again, maybe I should have it like this talking to you or have a better camera. But for many things that I'm doing, whether it's an audiogram or the video component, I knew I would need a gravatar, which is a modification of this, a profile pic for among social channels, among podcast channels. I knew I would need a logo. So that was the first place I started.
Yeah. So for those who are listening and can't see Lisa's logo, she stood up and it looks like almost like a badge that you see at like a state park. And then it has DEIB at the top and then outdoors. And it has a beautiful picture of trees, like pine trees. So you look at that and it's instantly like, that's an outdoor sign that you would see somewhere. That's what the feel of it is. I could tell you're a marketer, Lisa, because I immediately got what you're trying to do with it. So I just wanted to frame that for those who are listening and can't see your t-shirt. So a logo on Canva, and then a t-shirt, maybe some stickers or some magnets. So you look professional and you don't need to be ordering 100 shirts. You can literally order one shirt at a time.
Yep. And it's been worth it because I don't wear it enough where I needed more than one. There's definitely, I could do a few washings between times I actually need it, but it's there. But that's, I would say, only if you're going to if your passion project makes you go outside and talk to people or you. So that was my passion project. I knew that was going to happen. I was going to be talking to people. I didn't think I'd be on someone else's podcast. I thought I'd be on my own, speaking to other folks. So I thought that just kind of elevated it at a low cost. Now, I could have had a better background, made a, beautiful bookshelf like folks do, but that's just, I don't have a budget for that, but I had a budget for a $20 t-shirt. So I started there and I would say in order to promote it, I wanted to make sure that the way I put everything together in terms of the podcast was as streamlined as possible. So I use as few tools as possible that do multiple things. I think it's the same way, like in the kitchen, both my husband and I hate tools that only do one thing. Like we want, like you can do 10 things, Instant Pot type style. So I'm trying to have tools that I can get a lot done with one thing, Canva just being one example. And then promoting, I have a lot of experience in repurposing material. So, and I just read a really neat quote that if you repurpose content, which means, you take one original piece of content, kind of slice and dice it and put it in different different platforms, you can, as much as, I think, I don't even know how to say this word, but you can multiply your views by 20%, like times 20. So it's not multiply, it's beyond, more than triple. So I have purposely made a blog post be as repurposable as possible. So I always have a quote in an image, as an image in the blog post. First of all, it breaks up the monotony of just reading text over and over again. It has branded colors and it just pops a little bit, but it's also square. So it works perfectly for Instagram. Like, I already know that. And often that quote, I've already found it in the transcript. I can use that same quote or another one as an audiogram. So that's already there. In my podcast, I ask 3 lightning round questions, and I know I'm going to repurpose those in future blog posts because they're the same questions. And one is, what has been your favorite hike of the year? So once I get 10 of those answers, I can say 10 hikes you must do in 2024. So just always thinking of how to maximize the content that I have.
Okay.
That's my biggest promotional tip, I think.
Okay. And then, so you started a podcast. Who, like, when you're promoting a passion project, especially what you're doing with DEIB Outdoors, who do you have on there and what do you expect? Because I think picking the right guests is going to help you amplify your story and your message. So how do you do that for a passion project? What can you offer your guests? How do you get them to come on and to, talk to you and be willing to spend their time with you?
Yeah. And I can also say, I can give lessons learned that I didn't know right out of the gate.
Perfect. That would be great. That's even better. We can learn from other people's mistakes so we don't make them.
Exactly.
That's great.
I'm happy to help others. So at first, I would say one thing I never really did was to go onto YouTube first to see if they have been on other podcasts before, or there's some video of them talking. I think that's really important because they could be brilliant. They could have 1 million followers, but if they can't have a good chat with you on a podcast, it's not going to be worthwhile. So that's, I think, something I would have done. I went in blindly, and because I had 0 blog posts, well, I wrote some that didn't deal with interviews, but I didn't have any interviews yet. I was really surprised when one person said, yes, I'll do it. And she represents a group of bigger bodied people who are out in the outdoors. What was neat was I was happy, and I thought to choose her because there are about 30 different branches of this organization throughout the country. So she could very well send it to her chapter heads to promote, which she did. Even with her just posting it to the main account, then the chapter leader saw it and they in turn filtered it out. Many are much smaller than that. There wouldn't be an opportunity to spread in that way. But anyway, I was thrilled that she was on. I saw the potential trickle down theory, but the biggest bonus was she was a fantastic speaker and set the bar super high. I just lucked out in many ways having her be the first guest. She was lively, and she checked all the boxes, or ticked all the boxes. And then, yes, going forward, having someone who has a good network, and I think that's more important than followers. Like, who are the people that they've had on as podcast guests, if they are doing their own podcast, just what are the other organizations they're aligned with? Because that for me is more important. If they had 1 million followers, maybe it dealt with, they also play poker, and poker would have nothing to do with what I'm doing. Right. So it was more important for me for that kind of alignment. And for me, because the D is diversity, I didn't want them all to just be like bigger body people like Alexa. So I really have tried to cover some different ethnic groups. I'm really working hard now on different neurodiverse folks getting out into the outdoors, as well as people with physical disabilities, visible disabilities. So that will be the next area that I've been wanting to tackle. And I'm also looking for geographic variety, because I want to, in the end, have that grand calendar of coast to coast events going on. So I've had people from the coasts now both, and now I need to tackle the Midwest.
Okay, so my question to you next is, I hear you talk about hiking. Is that your main focus for outdoors, or would you also include, like, I live in Killington, skiing or other outdoor activities? Or are you really focused on outdoor hiking, hitting the trails?
That's a great question. And yeah, right now it was hiking, but I purposely had the outdoors because I wanted to have it broader. There's one guy that I've been following called Black Eyes Camp 2, and very interested in that as well. And yes, and in fact, guest number 10 on my show will be my husband. He is Black, and he has been road cycling several countries for as long as I've known him, over 20 years. And he has a very unique experience, and is also doing work in the cycling field in terms of bringing not just himself, but getting other people to hit the road. So yeah, I'm definitely right. At first it came from that hiking experience I had, but I knew that there was so much more of just the more that I looked in. There was the camping, there's even van life, there's paddle boarding, there's so much kayaking, and so on. And maybe I'll do some running to yes.
No, I follow somebody who started a project because he got fat shamed during a marathon. And so he started a running group for people of different proportions, and he's like, we can run, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so yeah, I love that. And I think the lesson that, if you're listening to this, if you're watching Lisa talk and listening to her, is the lesson is that when you're starting a passion project, think big. Maybe start small, but think big. You could have called it DEB hiking, and you didn't. You said DEB outdoors, because then you can include outdoor activities. And I love that. So I think that's a really good point that you made, Lisa, that you're really thinking big, but start small with your passion project. What are you looking for in the future? What are you doing right now that you're hoping will move that needle, to go to the Midwest, to expand, to make that map, to get out there more? Mm-hmm. What are you doing right now? What are you working on?
Yeah, so the first piece is getting on legit podcast platforms. Right now it's been strictly on YouTube and then embedded in my blog. I said, if I hit, again, to your point of starting small and not doing all the things at once, because you and I and everyone listening and watching know so many podcasts that die a wicked hard death after just a few episodes.
6, I think. 6 is it 6? Yeah, I think that 70% of podcasts stop after 6. Something crazy number.
Yeah. Okay. So I almost followed that by saying, once I hit 5, then I know I feel good, which I do, that I will move to traditional Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So I've gotten a hosting platform, and I'm ready to take that dive. I'm hoping that by exposing people who traditionally listen to podcasts more than go on YouTube or read blogs, that I'll be able to open up the audience more that way. And then in turn, hopefully, get people. I already have an eye on a few people in the Midwest, so it's just a matter of time of having nice personalized outreach, but having more listeners in the Midwest would certainly help, and then hopefully getting more people worldwide, and then spreading the word about the benefits that they can get for a calendar. I am not planning on making money off this project, so at first, at least, it will be free. So there's really no cost to the person to send me their events. It's almost like, if anyone remembers newspapers, like rock clubs would send their listings of what's happening in April, like what bands are coming, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I love that you're having your own podcast, and my mind immediately went to when I know when you hike and you need to be in nature, that part of your senses are listening, right? You're walking, you're listening, you're smelling, you're doing all of the things. But for those who hike on more public trails, and there might be other people around where they want to listen to something, listening to a podcast is a great way to get moving. So I think that is a great connection, right? You can start interviewing, you can find somebody, a podcaster who hikes, who, like talk about that piece.
Yes.
I do think that when I go hike in nature, that there are certain hikes. There is an exercise hike. There is a
Yes.
adventure hike. There is
Yes.
a goal hike. I'm gonna get to the fourth. But there's also like the grind hike. I just need to get out and need to get my miles in. And the grind hike would be where I would listen to a podcast.
I
So
love that.
yeah,
Yeah, for safety, there are only certain hikes that because I do solo hike 95% of the time. But yeah, there are certain ones where like I feel good putting that. I'm well aware of my surroundings. There's tons of people and so on. So yeah, perfect for that. And like you said, just a specific type of hike. Yeah, it's like very meta. I like it.
yes,
It's
yes,
cool.
yeah. So you were talking about getting the Midwest involved. What is another way that you want to reach out? So you go do local events. So you're spreading the word. You've got your blog. You've got your podcast now. What partnerships or collaborations are you looking for? Because if you're watching this, if you're listening to Lisa and you're like, I know so many people who need to get out in nature. I'm trying to get them out. I'm going to connect with Lisa. I want to connect with Lisa because I'm one of those people who want to get out. Who are you looking for to collaborate with, Lisa? Because let's do that. Let's highlight you and what you're doing and the good work and getting more people out and getting that mental health and getting that physical benefit and all those things. Who would be your ideal collaborator?
Oh, well, the person I'd love to interview the most, if you're listening, is Christian Cooper. He was known as the Central Park Birder. If you might know, there was a viral video of him. But he's not just a birder who happens to be Black. He's also an amazing artist and activist prior to any video going live. He has a new book out just this past week. Christian, hello. I'd love to have you.
Let's make that happen.
Yeah, right. I just said that I was in Portland, Oregon last month in Powell's, and the book was there. And I told my husband, like, this is the guy I want on my show. But that would just be for one episode, and then he would go on and do all his fabulous things. But as far as long-term partnerships, yeah, I'm happy to, if someone has a large reach in a certain area, geographically or in like I said, I'm looking again a lot more in visible and invisible disabilities. That's an area I'd like to get more in, as well as Muslim hikers, especially women who, if they're wearing traditional Muslim garb, feel uncomfortable going outdoors. I would say, as I'm thinking more, like there are other religious groups that have traditional garb where they might feel not wanted on a trail. So I'm definitely open to hearing about that as well. So if you are one of the identities I just mentioned and want to connect, I know some groups, they just haven't said yes to my podcast, but they would definitely welcome you. So yeah, definitely reach out to me. And then if you are an organization or know of an organization that I've described, I would love to be introduced, or introduce yourself to me and we can do something fun together.
That sounds wonderful. So this is a perfect lead way to, let's connect with Lisa. Your website is right on there for those who are watching, DEIBOutdoors.com. If you're listening, DEIBOutdoors.com is where Lisa can be found. Where are you most active on social media, Lisa, if people want to connect with you or connect their friends with you?
Sure. DEIB Outdoors has its own Instagram. So it's at DEIB Outdoors. And then I share what's happening in DEIB Outdoors and beyond. A lot of New York Times articles that are free. I give access because I know that's an issue. Other articles about other folks doing really interesting things around the country for that. So and that's all on LinkedIn on the DEIB Outdoors page. If you have trouble finding it, as many people do with company pages, just hook up with me. I'd love to talk to you. And you can just say, hey, I don't want a long chat. I just want to go to your company page. That's cool. And I'll point you in the right direction.
That's awesome. And if somebody has a podcast that they want you on, are you open to that?
Sure.
All
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be tons of. I'm having a great time with you. So you've encouraged me.
Good. Awesome. Wonderful. So this is for me, this is not quite a passion project, but I absolutely love this. There is something about being out in nature and connecting and finding yourself. So when I saw that Lisa started this project and was watching her do these wonderful things and promoting the outdoors, I really wanted to have her on. So if you feel that this is something that for yourself that you need, or you want to connect, be that networker, connector, connect Lisa with people in your community, in your network that do good things for those in the, that promote diversity, equity and inclusion, we want you to reach out to Lisa. So go on LinkedIn, go to her website, read her blog, and connect. I will be back next week with another episode of Strategy Talks. Lisa, I really appreciate you being here. And again, let's get the Central Park birder, Chris. What was his last name?
Yeah, Christian Cooper.
Yes, let's get him on. That would be great. Call Lisa and get on the podcast. That's amazing. If you have a passion project and you want to talk to Lisa about starting, even if it's completely different, that's another great way to connect with her, because probably behind the scenes, she can encourage you and help you. And let's get it started. It is what fuels our soul, guys. It's the passion. That's what does it. So I will talk to you, all of you, soon. Thank you for listening, and thank you for watching Strategy Talks. See you later. Bye, everybody.